as I can remember, I've always wanted to live in a vintage, old, historic home. And in October of 2024, that dream finally came true when we purchased this beautiful 1927 bungalow. Now, we knew that the first room that we wanted to do a renovation on was the kitchen, and this was for a couple of reasons. Number one, Rick and I, we host all of the family parties and holiday parties throughout the year, and so we knew we wanted to tackle this basically between Christmas and Easter, so we had 3 months to get this kitchen done, and that's exactly how long it took us to get this done, was 3 months, because Easter is in, 5 or 6 days, and we really just finished it. Now, in a home built in the 1920s, you wouldn't have had all this built-in cabinetry. Basically, everything was pretty much standalone during that time period. You would have had a sink that was standalone, a great big, probably drain board sink. You would have had a standalone range to cook on, and an ice box, probably a Hoosier cabinet, a baking cabinet of some sort, and a small little table in your kitchen. And that's basically what kitchens looked like in the 1920s. And people would eat their meals in the dining room, which was typically separate from the kitchen. Now, there was nothing left original in this kitchen when we bought this house. The previous owners had done a renovation, I'm guessing in the 1990s, based on the sponge painting on the walls and the age of the appliances. And so there was no restoring, the vintage charm of this kitchen. It didn't have anything original left, which was kind of a bummer. I would have loved to have had the big drain board sink, but it just wasn't meant to be. So we worked with what we had. And so our first thought was we needed to switch out the appliances because the range, it was a gas cooktop and an electric oven. They were failing. The fans in the oven were really loud and it needed to be replaced. And when we looked up the cost of buying new fans, they were almost as much as purchasing a whole new range. So we're like, yeah, we'd be better off just getting something new. The dishwasher no longer had any heat. It didn't dry anything, and it was very, very loud. Now, the refrigerator was newer. However, it didn't fit the space, because it stuck way out far in the room, but it was very narrow. So you couldn't even get like a full sheet cake in this refrigerator. So we thought, okay, we're going to get new appliances, except for the microwave. That was here, and it looks great with our new appliances. Next up was the countertop. What kind of countertop did we want? Now, I did a whole video on us purchasing our quartz countertops. If you're interested in watching that, you can go back and look for that. And I go over, what we looked at, how we ordered it. They came out and measured it and installed it. But our quartz countertops, oh my gosh, they're absolutely beautiful. Next up was the sink. And what I really wanted was a big old drain board cast iron sink. The problem with that is that your kitchen basically needs to be built around that sink. And since we were working with the existing cabinetry in this kitchen, it just wasn't a possibility for us. So we purchased a fireplace sink that was an overmount so it would fit the space. And we still had to do some work on the cabinets to get this thing to fit. But in the end, it did. And the next thing was picking out our faucet. And you know what? I chose the gold, and I'm so glad I did. And the reason I chose it was because all of the pulls and hardware in our kitchen were already gold, and I didn't want to spend a couple $100 to buy all new pulls for our kitchen cabinets. And I am so glad that I went with the gold, because honestly, I think that this is the crown jewel of our kitchen. I love this faucet. It's a Kohler, and what I really liked about this is that it's a bridge faucet. And this would have been in keeping with the vintage style of when this house was built, because they would have had bridge faucets back in the 1920s. So after we chose our beautiful appliances and countertop and sink and faucet, the next thing up was the tile backsplash. Now, we knew that we wanted to remove the existing tile because it was not original to the house. And it was sort of a really beige color, and it wasn't going to look very well with the white countertops. And so we chose a classic white 3x6 subway tile. And this absolutely would have been something that you would have seen in a 1920s kitchen. Now Rick and I took about a week to install this because we'd never done a tile backsplash before. We laid lots of flooring over the years but never a backsplash. So we really took our time because we wanted to do a good job. And it turned out beautifully. I could not be happier with the way our backsplash turned out. And I think we did a pretty good job for our first try. I purchased these really cute cafe curtains on Amazon, and they were very inexpensive. And they're not the highest quality, but they're good enough for my kitchen, and I thought they looked really cute. And I liked that they were pinch pleat. And so I chose a gold curtain rod and gold rings to accent the beautiful gold of my faucet. And they're super easy to open and close on these rings. We also added a new window ledge because the old one was cracked and broken and it was really narrow. And so Rick made a new one. And I asked him if he could make one with a little more depth so that I could display some of my knickknacks and seasonal items. And I know this is going to look super cute at Christmas when I put my little baubles there. I also did a couple of wallpapering projects in this kitchen renovation as well. And one of them is the wall you see behind me, and it's a beautiful William Morris print, and it's called the Strawberry Thief. And I knew that I wanted to do it in pastel colors because I painted the walls in the kitchen a beautiful soft sage green. And I'm really happy with the way that they go together. I'm so happy that the way that this beautiful wallpaper turned out. And I even covered the switch plates as well to make the wall look a little more finished. I did another wallpaper project in the kitchen, which is way less noticeable, and it's above the refrigerator. Now what happened was when we ordered our new fridge, new refrigerators are taller than ones from years ago, and so we had to take the whole cabinet above the refrigerator out and make it a lot smaller, and to get it back up in place so the crown molding and everything would line up with the existing cabinetry, so we could not put the doors back on it. So I had a cabinet that was not finished on the inside, and it didn't look very pretty. So I ordered some wallpaper from Amazon that had a wood-like finish to it, and so I papered the whole inside of that box. It was not easy to paper. I'm up on a ladder, I have short arms, and I can barely reach the back wall, but it really, really turned out nice. And now when you look up there, it looks like the wood was actually finished, when in fact it's peel and stick wallpaper. So both wallpapers I purchased on Amazon. When we purchased the home, we had a big open space in the kitchen because the previous owners had a little L-shaped banquette in this space. And they also opened up the wall between the kitchen and the dining room because they wanted to have, you know, a better light coming into the kitchen and so you could see into the dining area. So they created a pony wall with spindles. And this was not original to the kitchen, and we wanted to take this out. And so that was a little bit of a job to do. But my husband Rick and our son Gordon did a really nice job at taking out the pony wall and the spindles. And we didn't build the wall all the way back because this house originally would have had just a little doorway between the kitchen and dining, but they would have been completely separate rooms. And since this had already been opened up, we decided to leave it that way, but we did build the wall back a little ways by a couple of feet. And this way, the walls look symmetrical in the kitchen and the dining room, and it also creates better flow and better light in the kitchen. And so that was a really big job, and it created a really big mess. But in the end, it was absolutely worth it to do, and I'm really glad that we tackled that project. The only thing we still have left to do in this entire kitchen is the flooring. We have to put in a new transition piece where we left the floor open from taking out that pony wall. I also did a little sewing project in the kitchen as well. Because we had this big open space where the previous owner's banquette was, we had some extra room, and so we extended our countertop down a little ways. And Rick bought some oak and he created a beautiful support wall so that we could add on, you know, a couple more feet of countertop space. And he did a wonderful, wonderful job making that. And then I stained it and polyurethaned it, and it turned out great. And so what I knew that I wanted to keep our trash can under the counter, because this is a small kitchen and we just didn't have anywhere else to put it. But I didn't want an unsightly trash can underneath the countertop. And so I went to Joann Fabrics, and by the way, R.I.P. Joann Fabrics. I am absolutely heartbroken that they are closing. I truly am. This probably is the last purchase that I'm ever going to buy from there, was the material that I made to make this really, really cute curtain that I can pull across the trash can so that when I have company over, it looks nice. I think that having this little curtain skirt really adds to the cozy charm of this kitchen as well. And what I did is I put up a push rod with rings, and so I can easily take this down, wash the curtain, and put it back up again. Next up is my beautiful Hoosier cabinet. Now this is something that we purchased 8 years ago for our previous home. And when we bought this house, I knew exactly where I was going to put it. And this is very much in keeping with the age of this home, because almost all homes in the 1920s had a Hoosier cabinet or a baking cabinet. This is in excellent condition, and we bought this on Craigslist. And I want to show you some nice features about it. Number one, the roll top. It still works and it's in perfect shape. So if I want to close that, I can. But I typically always leave it open because there are some things in here. There we go. Because there's things in there that I want to access. Now, when I open this up, we use this every single day, as you can see. We keep all of our spices on this side, and on this side we keep all of our vitamins and our medications. Now these are spice racks that were built in, and originally there would have been little tiny jars that you would put your spices in. Unfortunately, I don't have the jars, so we just have a few odd things tucked up in there. This would hold your cookbook so that you could look at your cookbook while you were cooking, and this is nice that that is still there. Now over here, this still has the original sifter, and it pulls out like this. And ladies would have put their flour in here for their baking, and then they'd have a bowl down below, and they would sift their flour when they needed it, and then when they were done, they would put it back up into place. But I don't actually use it for flour, but it's really cool that it's still there. There's these little pull-out drawers underneath the top that you could put whatever you wanted. This one actually has, it has a little place where you can put like your silver. If you had your good silver, this is where you would put it. However, I don't keep any silver in it. Now, in here is where we keep all of our pots and pans to do all of our cooking. And it's right next to the stove, and it works out great. This drawer is where we keep the hot pads. Again, right next to the stove, really easy to access. This drawer, we keep all of our various different wraps and papers for cooking. And now in this bottom drawer, this drawer actually has a tin lining, and we are missing, there would have been a top that would have fit on here. We're missing that piece. But what I use this drawer for is all of our big miscellaneous serving things that we don't use that often. Also, the top to this pulls out and becomes much larger if you need it. Unfortunately, the part that goes underneath this shelf is damaged a little bit, but I do pull this out on occasion. Typically not this far, but I will pull it out to about here. And for holidays, I use this for my punch bowl. I'll put my punch bowl and all my little cups on here. But most of the time, I just keep it pushed back in all the way. And now I want to talk a little bit about the antiques that I have in my kitchen. And the first thing I want to show you, and I keep it on my Hoosier cabinet, is this beautiful recipe box. Now this was my mother's, and this is, I'm guessing, from sometime in the 1950s or early 1960s. And I still keep all of my recipe cards inside this box, and I love this box. It's old, it has dovetail joints, and it's really a nice piece, and I'm so glad she gave it to me. This cake pan up here on the wall belonged to my grandmother, and it says Swan's Down Cake Flour makes better cakes. And this is really, really nice because it has these little openings on either side where you pull up the little lever and it helps to cool the cake. It's really neat. And also, this was my grandmother's as well, this rolling pin, and my mom thinks that it also may have been her mother's before her. And so I love having these in the kitchen because they're old, and it really helps this new kitchen in an old house have a nice vintage feel. The previous owners had appliance garages in this space, and we decided to take them out because it really did cut up the amount of space that you had on your countertop. And also, I wanted to do this beautiful accent wall with wallpaper. Also, for family gatherings, we want to lay all of the desserts out on this space, and now it's nice and open to do so. Next, I want to talk about this beautiful built-in area in the kitchen. The previous owners put this in, and I wanted to keep it because it's really, really nice. And it gives me an opportunity to display my cookbooks in the middle. It also has a really nice plate rack, which I absolutely love. And we also have storage for wine, as you can see. And one of the other things I wanted to show you is, I need to climb up on a step stool so that I can get up here and film this for you, is this area up here. There's a cookie jar up here that belonged to my great-grandparents, and this cookie jar is from the 1950s. And when I was a little girl, it used to play because this is a music box on top, and you would twist this and it plays Do You Know the Muffin Man? However, it's locked up now and it no longer plays, but all the components are still there, so I'm hoping sometime in the future we can get this working again. And in the background is the plate that belonged to my grandmother, and it's one of her place settings of china, and she used her china every single day. She was one of those people that didn't keep it for good, and good for her. And I remember going over to her house and eating on this pattern. I don't have the whole set, it was split when she passed away, but I feel very, very fortunate to have the pieces that I do. Now in front of the plate is the nut grinder. This belonged to my grandmother, but my mother has one that's identical to it. And when we were kids, we would all fight over who got to put the walnuts in the grinder and turn the handle to grind the nuts. And so this is a very special piece for me. And I'm so glad that I have space in my kitchen to display these items. On the shelf with the cookbooks, I had this beautiful little cream and sugar that my mother gave these to me many years ago, and I'm not sure where she got these. I will have to ask her. I'm thinking that an aunt gave them to her. These are by far some of my favorite antique pieces that I have. They are beautiful and they are dainty, and they look so nice in this kitchen. The little figurine to the left, it was a salt or pepper shaker. I bought this at a yard sale, and I only have one, but it is so adorable. There's just something about it that just drew me to it, and I absolutely love this little piece. And when you tip it over and look at the bottom, it has a date of 1956 on it. And behind this beautiful leaded glass cabinet here is where I keep a lot of my pretty glasses. And so if I'm having a party, I can just easily pull them out. I knew that I wanted to do something special for Rick in this kitchen. So what I did is I took some recipe cards that belonged to his mother who were no longer with us, and I framed them for the kitchen. Now what I love about these recipe cards is that you can tell that they were used a lot over the years, and they were very, very loved. And they are recipes that Rick remembers well from his childhood. We have Creole beans and beef tamales, and the chocolate whipped cream frosting, I make that for Rick for his birthday every year on his cake. Now the frames I already had, but they were silver, and I wanted gold because I have gold accents in this kitchen. So I bought some very inexpensive gold paint. I put 3 coats of paint on the frames, and then I waxed them. Now I wasn't able to hang these on the wall with a hanger because there just wasn't any way to adhere one on the back, so these are Velcroed. I took the glass out of the frames and I just put plastic in, so they're super lightweight, but I don't think they're going anywhere anytime soon. I also picked a really pretty paper backing, and I tried out a couple of different patterns, and I ultimately chose this color green, and I think that it looks really nice. Now above here, this was the cover of a cookbook that belonged to my mother-in-law, and I thought that I would frame it and it would look really nice sitting next to these recipe cards, and this really just also adds to the warmth and charm of my beautiful vintage kitchen. I also inherited this beautiful teapot that belonged to my great-grandparents, and according to my mother, they use this all the time. Now I don't use this, but I love to display it because it is just a really, really nice piece to put in my kitchen. I also have some beautiful vintage linens, and this one belonged to my grandmother, and I think that she is the one that embroidered this. This one belonged to my grandmother as well, and I can only guess that this one looks to be maybe from the 40s or 50s. I'm not sure, but it's still in really good shape, and it is so cute. I also have these beautiful linens here as well, and these belong to my mother-in-law. I don't know the age of these, but I do know that they are vintage. I purchased this beautiful little lamp on Amazon, and I loved it because it had a vintage lampshade to it. And I don't know, there's just something about having a little lamp in your kitchen, on your countertop, really adds to the warmth and character and charm of your home. We didn't replace any of the lighting in the kitchen. The previous owners had installed can lighting, which really does light up this kitchen because this kitchen is kind of dark. It only has one window. We also chose to keep the ceiling fan because we liked the gold accents. We thought it would match the rest of the kitchen, and I really loved the beautiful cut glass dome on this ceiling fan. We thought it was just beautiful. We also chose to keep the light above the sink as well. I just thought it was really pretty, and I didn't see any reason to change it out. The carpet under the sink, it really isn't carpet at all. It is a foam pad, but it looks like carpet, doesn't it? It's really nice because it's cushy to stand on when you're doing dishes, but it's also very, very easy to just wipe off with a wet cloth if any sort of stain gets on it. The last project we did in this kitchen was install the under cabinet lighting, and we actually just finished it yesterday. The previous owners had under cabinet lighting installed when they did this kitchen over 20 years ago, but they had fluorescent lighting, which is what everybody used at that time, but we decided to replace it with LED. And the reason for that is not only is it more energy efficient, but we could also choose how bright we wanted it. They have different levels of brightness and color as well. We could go with warm tones or cool tones, but it really makes a difference to have under cabinet lighting, and I'm so glad that we kept it and that we updated it, and I'll show you the before and after. And here's what it looks like with the under cabinet lighting on. It really, really makes the cabinetry and the subway tiles shine. Sometimes I feel like Hagrid, who is keeper of the keys at Hogwarts, because I am the keeper of all things antiques in our family. Now, my mother and my siblings are not antique lovers at all, and so lucky me, I'm the one that gets to keep all of the antiques and all of the vintage items. I even have things from my aunt as well, and I'm really very, very happy because I don't know, there is just something about old homes, old linens and china and furniture and things that just really makes me feel calm, and it makes me feel happy, and it makes me feel grounded in ways that I really can't even explain. I have just always been drawn to old vintage things all of my life. So I'm really happy to be the keeper of all things vintage and antique in my family. This is not the biggest kitchen that I've ever had. Actually, this kitchen is quite small. It's really just a little bit bigger than what your standard galley-sized kitchen would be, but it is by far the most beautiful kitchen that I have ever had. And so to celebrate that in this video, I wanted to wear my mother's pearls that she gave to me. Now, my dad gave these to my mom in 1957, shortly after they were married, and I only pull them out for special occasions, and I wanted to wear them today because this is such a wonderful day for me. Rick and I worked really hard over the last 3 months to do this kitchen renovation, and I think we did a pretty good job for a couple of people in their 60s. We put a lot of hours in. We worked every weekend on this, and we worked a lot of weeknights, late into the night to get this done. We're not the fastest, but we wanted to take our time and do the best job that we could, and I really could not be happier with the way my beautiful kitchen turned out. I'd also like to add that there's still plastic on the refrigerator if it looks kind of funny in the video. Rick didn't want to take it off until we finished doing the floor, putting that transition piece in, because that's really going to make quite a mess. And I said to Rick, I don't want to do that until after Easter because it is going to be a little bit of a job to do. If you haven't already subscribed, please consider doing so, because the next room that I'm going to make over is the sunroom. Now, the previous owners had used this room as an office, but we didn't need this space as an office because our desks and computers are all upstairs. And I thought this will make the perfect sunroom because it gets morning and afternoon sun all day, and it has all of these beautiful windows. I have some really, really cool ideas for this room, so I hope that you stick around so you can see this transformation. Now, Rick and I would like to thank you all so much for watching today's video. We love you guys, and we will see you all soon. Goodbye.